Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to a special edition episode of the Xbox Factor podcast. I am one of your hosts, MrBooMStickXL, and with me, as always, my partner in crime, Welsh Gamer, who is not the London Gamer. Welsh, welcome, dude.
I appreciate it, Boom. I'm excited. Last week I couldn't make it because I was at a wedding, but I'm back in force now. I'm living life. Got a great guy in the panel with us, a lovely guest by the name of Mark. I'm looking forward to talking to him.
Yes,
Excited.
yeah, absolutely. And you know what? Getting right to our special guest, we are extremely privileged to have Mark Backler, who is the founder of Sketchbook Games, to talk about the amazing-looking indie title Lost Words Beyond the Page. Mark, thank you so much for being here and for taking the time out of your very busy development schedule.
No problem. Thanks very much for having me. It's great to be here.
Yeah, well, listen, you know what? We have been, Mark and I, if you don't know, a little background information. I've been talking with Mark for a couple of months, and in a absolutely, completely boob-like move. He was supposed to be on a couple of weeks ago, and I got the dates mixed up, and thankfully, he was able to fix his schedule to be here. You know, Mark, before we get into the 10 questions I sent you, I'd just like you to kind of, let people know what Sketchbook Games is, how many people are in the studio, what drove you to want to get into game development.
Okay, so Sketchbook Games, we're about 12 people at the moment, some full-time, some part-time, and we work remotely. I guess I'd always wanted to get into game development. I remember at primary school sort of wanting to make games on my Commodore 64, which didn't work out very well. And then through secondary school as well, it was always a career aim. So I went to Lincoln University in the UK and studied game development. And then one of my friends had got a job at EA when we graduated, and he told me that they were hiring. So I sort of applied there, and ended up getting my first job in the industry, working on Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix as a level integrator, which was great fun.
Nice. Wow, that sounds very interesting. Now, you said there's 12 people. Does that include yourself as well?
Yeah.
Wow. Now, obviously, you guys are hard at work. And obviously having you on the show to talk about Lost Words. You know, when I first saw the game, and then obviously we started hearing more about it, it was for me personally, it kind of touched me because my grandmother passed away a few years ago, and she was my world. I mean, ever since I was a kid, I had great parents, and I had a very steady home, thankfully. But any chance I had to go over to grandma's and spend the weekend, I did. I spent just about as much time with my grandmother than I did with my mom and dad, because I just loved being around her. The stories she used to tell me, and the relationship I had with her. And when I saw the synopsis for the game, it immediately touched me in my heart, because I said, I can understand. But I'm going to start with the questions, Mark, if you don't mind. The concept of telling an emotional story like this through the protagonist's diary is unusual, and one that lends itself to being something very special and engrossing. How did this concept come to fruition?
So we knew we wanted to make an experience that could really move people. Like, my favorite films are the ones when it's kind of got really emotional content, and it kind of leaves you feeling different at the end to when you started, and like you feel like you've taken something away from it. And games are starting to do that, but I still think that there's not enough that are kind of using the medium to tell stories like this, and seeing a lot of the same kind of games over and over. So yeah, we really wanted to do something a bit different, and kind of go in this direction. And it was an aim from early on that we, if we can have another game, because I think some games have done it already, but another game that could potentially move people to tears, then it's like, you've achieved something, really powerfully moving if you can do that. A
Yeah, no,
stated
I
goal of
absolutely. I mean,
right.
it's telling a story that has the emotional draw that you could easily find in a book or in a film is something really special. And like I said, I got a chance to watch several of your trailers, and you guys didn't give away too much, which is great. But you did, talk about the grandmother being ill, and again, I'm not going to assume that she's going to obviously pass on, but there's a real emotional attachment that's blatantly apparent between the protagonist and, of course, the grandmother. Welsh, would you like to take question number 2?
Absolutely. I'd love to jump on the back though of that
Please, by all
answer.
means, go right ahead.
Hey, like, there's a few cases in this lifetime of mine already. I'm 26, and there's probably only 2 times of note that I can think of. 3 times actually, if you include the passing of my grandfather, that I've actually cried. And it's that moment when I lost my granddad, which was horrible, and when I played bloody Telltale's The Walking Dead season 1 when Lee died, and when the guy died at the end of Valiant Hearts. Those in gaming for me, with the exception of my grandpa, obviously, where I bent the knee in sorrow. And watching the trailer for this game, I'm very excited to play it, but I'm equally very, very scared to play it because I know I'm gonna be crying like a baby by the end. Yeah, like if the trailer puts any stock into what you're saying, it looks like you've really dug deep with a very captivating and compelling story. Like I can only go by the trailer, so I can only imagine it's gonna
Yeah.
grab me. I can give you a little clap for whatever you're doing because it seems to be working. If a trailer can grab me as much as that has, then that speaks volumes in my eyes. But for question number 2, Mark, the unique watercolor art mixed with the cell shaded presentation is very pleasing to the eye, and I personally couldn't stop watching the trailer. Was this the original artistic vision of the game, or has there been other art forms that were originally used or theorized?
So it sort of evolved over time, really. Like when I first started the game, it was in a game jam for Ludum Dare, and so it was quite a few years ago now. And the theme was minimalism, so I just had kind of a white background and the character running on the words, and then as I was sort of thinking about it more, I knew, I wanted it to be a narrative game. So I'm a big fan of stories in games, and so it was sort of figuring out what would make sense, and a diary seemed to fit that, and then it sort of grew from there really. And then in thinking about diaries and journaling and sketches and watercolor and sort of doing lots of research, looking at um, like I can't remember the term of it, but like live journaling or something, or when people are kind of doing or the doodles, and when people are doing like animations of it. And so we sort of tried to draw from lots of different places and just get something that would be really cool and grab people and have a nice aesthetic to it. And also in as we were developing things, sort of the writer of the game, Rihanna Pratchett, came on board really early on. And to go back to the first question, actually, it was actually Rihanna who wanted to look at the topic of loss. Like I knew I wanted it to be something powerfully emotional, but I wasn't quite sure what that should be. And then when Rihanna liked the project and got involved, she sort of drew heavily from her own experiences and close relationship with her gran to to take the story in that direction.
Oh, that's awesome, man. It is simply a thing of beauty as well. I love anything unique, and me, I can speak for myself as well. Like I've always loved drawing, painting. I've done a lot of watercolor in my time. I do oil painting and all kinds of acrylic with canvassing. I don't get paid for anything. It's just something I enjoy doing. And in school, I was quite the doodler myself. Plenty of hours were dedicated to detention due to my doodling over the school books. So it's definitely an interesting art style, and I commend you for trying something different, because I suppose there is a stigma in gaming today, like that every game needs to look a certain way, and it's like I would prefer developers like yourself just thinking outside the box and bringing something completely different to life. So no, I appreciate your answer, dude.
Thank you.
Okay, well, listen. You know what? Funny, the next question, Mark. It just so happens to be talking about Rihanna Pratchett. Now, the story obviously it was written by her, and she's world renowned for as a story writer for games. I mean, she has worked on Heavenly Sword for the PlayStation 3 in 2007. She worked on Overlord, which was fantastic. She worked on Mirror's Edge in 2008, and then this is probably her best work. She worked on Tomb Raider in 2013, and then followed that with Rise of the Tomb Raider in 2015. Two absolutely unbelievable stories of Lara Croft. I mean, it was a reboot and then the follow up, and it's pretty interesting that you were able to get her on board. How did that happen?
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. We actually met at a game jam. She was one of the judges of the Space 8 Great British Winter Game Jam in London. And me and some friends from the company I was working at the time, Marmalade, had entered this game jam, and we made a game called Elven Isolation. So it was a bit like Alien Isolation, but you were sort of an elf having to escape Santa's workshop, and Santa was sort of hunting you down. And
That sounds very interesting and terrifying.
it was, yeah. Rihanna really liked it, and then I sort of got in touch afterwards, and we ended up meeting up, and yeah, showed her the game, and she really liked it, even though it was so early. We didn't have any of the fantasy world of Astoria in there at the time, but yeah, she liked the concept, and even though the artwork was sort of quite basic, and yeah, just liked what we were doing with it. And then so yeah, she's sort of the longest current serving team member next to myself now. So yeah, it's been amazing to work with.
That's really interesting. I love the fact that you met her, where she was an actual judge, and she looked at the stuff, she looked at the game, and she's like, "Oh, wow, it's very interesting." And then that actually worked into making, making this game with her. I want to talk about just for a second. The voice of Izzy, the main character of the game, is voiced by Sedone Maria. Who if people don't know, she has a BA in animation and is currently a nursing student. How did your paths cross and eventually pick her to do the voice of Izzy?
So Sidoni was a participant on the Games Hub program at Essex University. So they kind of have a bunch of students or graduates, and they get in different speakers from the games industry, and sort of everyone forms teams, and then over several months you're working on your projects together, and like getting feedback from different people. And Stephen Huckle, who runs the program, had very kindly let me work alongside the teams at the office space, and be a part of the incubator. And Sidoni, was one of the participants, and so she was doing some art and animation for us, and she did some placeholder VO for us as well, because we sort of wanted to get stuff in and see the feel of it. And then we auditioned a bunch of different VO actresses, and then actually we really liked her original stuff. I played that to our audio director who hadn't been working with us at the time when we first had that, and yeah, he really loved it. She's got a great sounding voice, really nice to listen to, and it sounded like the kind of right age for the character. And so yeah, we asked her to come back, and we're sort of in the process of recording all of the final VO for the game at the moment.
Oh, that's great. That's really great. Well, Welsh, would you like to take question number 4?
Absolutely. Gameplay is key. It's a key element to a platform game, and it appears the player must create a safe passage for the protagonist in an entirely unique and refreshing style that brings us back to the early days of gaming design. Was the team inspired by any other games?
Yeah, I think we've been inspired by lots of different games, and you always sort of want to draw inspiration for as many different places as you can. And so games like Journey that have really beautiful visuals and moving soundtrack, and things like Dear Esther and Gone Home, Edith Finch. Sort of loved the short narrative experiences. And then I guess on the game jam concept early on, it was 2D and platforms, and I even had a Mario sprite before I had any other art in there. So sort of inspiration from that classic platformer. And then the original idea for the game, I actually was wanting to have the character, well, the player dropping words from a quote at the top of the screen and then having to jump up them with their character. And like it kind of came to me like thinking about Tetris but with words. And so that's weirdly another inspiration, even though now in its current form you wouldn't think it's anything like that. But
Well, that's actually really interesting. That's how that came about. The one thing that I will say is Drew and I are huge fans of the industry as a whole, but we are big supporters of the indie community, and we enjoy seeing smaller titles like Lost Words, find its place on more platforms, the better, and as we know, this was originally announced for the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, PC, and now we're hearing that the Nintendo Switch is getting a version as well. This is very exciting because when you see a smaller team like yours of 12 get a chance to put a game out there, and and on as many platforms as is planned, it really says something to the effect that the team has arrived. You understand what I'm saying? It makes me happy because the more people that get a chance to play what I believe is going to be a very, very special game, Mark, is great for gaming. I understand that, and obviously you're a developer, so you don't really get in the middle of it. But for Drew and I, we do a lot of podcasting and a lot of shows. And flag flying, meaning console war shenanigans, is a hot topic, and it's something that we stay away from. We like I proudly support all the consoles, and I'm like very transparent about that. But to see this game be on so many platforms, it removes that right out of the picture. And I'm very excited for you and your team. How is the team feeling about having this game, Lost Words, on all of these platforms?
yeah, I think everyone's really excited about it, although sometimes it doesn't really sink in until you see it like actually on the store, I think. And but yeah, I think when it's so difficult to make a video game and get it out there in the wild these days, that like it makes sense to try and get it on as many different platforms as possible. And obviously you want as many different people to be able to pick it up and enjoy it. So yeah, we're making a game with Unity, and we're quite fortunate that does a lot of the heavy lifting for us of putting a game on different platforms. It's a lot easier to port than it used to be, but it is still really tricky. And so yeah, we've got a really great code team, and our programmer Dan, who's been working on bringing the game to these different platforms and fixing all the different bugs and issues and making it happen.
Yeah, that's very exciting. Like like I said, I've been, like I said earlier, that I have been really looking forward to this game because of the emotional connection that I had just from the trailer. I actually cannot wait to play the game myself. Drew, would you like to take the next question, my friend?
Absolutely. Having a special game like this on every platform makes me smile from ear to ear personally, as you guys are professors. Boom just said, like me and Boom, we do preach, like as long as you're happy, play your games. Like, we're not all for like the plastic wars, like Boom just said. Lost words don't come around that often. And based on the latest E3 trailer, it appears that many of the gaming community will be picking it up when it releases. Was having Lost Words to release on all the platforms always the idea, or did you have other ideas in mind? Because obviously you're a 12-man team, and you just discussed how like porting it and bugs and stuff like that. It must be a tricky thing to commit to multiple platforms when you're working on a game with only 12 people. So was it always the plan, or were you intending for it to be on just the one platform at one point, or what's the crack there?
So when we signed with Modus, that was for PC, Xbox One, and PS4. But then, I mean, originally when I made the game, I was just thinking Steam or just any platform, and we could get it out there for people to check it out. And then as we went on, and with it being Unity, like it seemed to make sense to put it on these other platforms and allow people to check it out on consoles at home. And it's kind of a bit surreal being able to use a PS4 controller and play the game or play it on Switch.
No, that's awesome, man. I mean, I for one appreciate the fact that you considered it and you've put things in motion, and I as an Xbox, oh no, will have a chance to play it. Like, it's because with gaming, isn't it? That's what me and Boom preach all the time, and I know Boom will agree with me here. Like, care about exclusivity. Like, I've recently been playing Gears 5, and it's like I could easily be one of those people who go around going, look at us, we have Gears, but I just don't care for that kind of crap. Like, I just think, like, enjoy your games, and the more games that are available for everyone, the better, in my opinion. So the fact that you've gone that extra mile to expand your reach, should we put it, I think it's brilliant. So no, good going, man. I appreciate that.
Thanks very much. Yeah, definitely be interesting to see how streaming influences things in the years to come, and like if the next console generation is kind of the last regular hardware generation, and if things do all go the way of streaming your games online from then on.
Oh, it's definitely going to be interesting. Personally, I mean, again, I'm not a developer, and I know that Microsoft has already spoken about how this is not going to be the last home console, and Sony has said that they're basically going to evaluate. I can't see hardware going away only because there are some areas, especially in the States, that just don't have great internet, and it really put that gaming community in those areas at a tremendous disadvantage if they couldn't play the new games just because they were in areas that didn't have proper internet. So I'm hoping that that there's always going to be an option for the player, giving them the ability, if they actually want to go buy the hardware, they can do that. And if they want to just have a little streaming box underneath their TV that you can't see but can play the games. It's definitely going to be interesting. But you know what, Mark? I got to ask you. The story, like we talked about earlier, being told seems like a very personal one. And if you don't mind me asking, was the origin of this story being told something that was created, or was there personal loss that someone on the team had to overcome? If so, is this their way of actually honoring that grandparent?
So Rihanna asked us, like the rest of the team, about their experiences, and sort of tried to draw from things we said, and heavily from her own experience with her gran, who she was really close with. And we kind of thought of different aspects that we could put in there, so it's sort of a blend really of different experiences. But Ree's definitely drawn a lot from her own relationship with her gran.
That's really interesting, and I do appreciate you sharing that because it does mean. I mean, when you see stories like this, it's again she's a world-renowned writer, so she can put a story together probably in a daydream, and it's gonna be epic, just based on her prior works. But to bring personal loss and feelings into the scenario of writing the story for this particular game seems not only brilliant, but it's going to make the game that much more meaningful. And like I said, again, we don't know too much because the trailer doesn't reveal any real spoilers. At least it doesn't seem to me anyway. I mean, you'll see it and you'll be like, oh, I know what that means because you're making the game. But for me, every time I've seen this game and every time I hear the Izzy talking about it, it interested me even more, that I cannot wait to get my hands on it. But Drew, would you like to take the next question?
Absolutely. I'd just like to say though quickly that I think it's pretty remarkable that with those kind of stories told. Like obviously, what's her name again? Sorry, Rihanna.
Pratchett.
Like obviously she's drawn from a very personal experience of hers. But the thing that's amazing about this kind of story, going by the trailer again, like, the grandmother's in hospital, or, she's very ill and all that. Like, that obviously Rihanna Pratchett had this happen to her, and my heart goes out to her. The fact of the matter is, hundreds of millions of thousands, thousands of millions of people every day are going through a very similar experience. Exactly. Which doesn't take it away from what she's going through, mind. It just means that everyone can relate like that. And even if right now you're an individual whose grandmother or grandfather is up and running and well, and like that might be the case, but there might come a time, unfortunately, when that'll inevitably not be the case. And a game like that, can grab you at your heartstrings and might even put a smile on your face, in the sense of like, is a very sad thing, into like a sort of almost like a positive cleansing experience. Because like gaming at the end of the day is for me, it's an escape. Like when the world gets too much for me, I turn on my Xbox and I jump on a game, whether it be obviously, I like a bit of variety in my gaming diet. I'm always playing something different, but it's just cool. I like the fact that obviously been drawn from a personal experience, but it's also something that a lot of people can relate to on a mass scale.
Absolutely, yeah, it's a really great point, and that's actually one thing that Rihanna said really early on of why loss such a good topic, because it's a really like powerful theme, but it's also universal. It's like everyone has experienced it or will experience it, and so it was something that kind of lots of people can relate to. And like you say, like if someone hasn't gone through it, it's could be even educational, and
Yes.
And could make you, realize before it's too late to not take your grandparents for granted.
Do you know what, mate? That what you just said there is. I will get to your next question. I do apologize.
No, please. This is a conversational podcast. Talk away, my friend.
Awesome. But no, I couldn't agree more with that statement, because like if I have any advice to give to anyone in the world right now, it is do not take your grandparents for granted. Because when my grandfather died, as sad as I was, like so regretful, because he died like in my early 20s, and my teen years, like any teenager, you just want to go out with your friends, have a drink, play football, and I'll hold my hand up. I didn't spend nearly as much time as I could have with my grandfather, and when he was gone, I was just like, wow, like I can't do it now. So since then I see my grandmother like at least once or twice a week now.
Great.
My busy life, I've got a son with autism and all this different stuff. I still take at least a couple of hours a week out of my schedule for my grandmother, and I will continue to do that because you just can't take. So for a lot of kids out there, this game eye opener that like wow, like hold up, like they're not going to be around forever. I better make the most of it right now. So I can appreciate that sentiment as well, Mark. When you said that, I just, if you could see my face, I was just nodding and grinning, like, yep, totally agree.
And while the story is like moving, we wanted it to be kind of like life affirming and sort of aspirational, and not not destroy people and make them feel awful or anything.
No, absolutely, absolutely. But on to the next question, as I did promise I would get to it. Lost Words Beyond the Page has already won 14 awards, including an indie prize at Casual Connect 2018, UKIE's UK Game of the Show at Gamescom 2017, and Best Story and Best Indie Game at Game Connection 2016. Was this kind of reception expected from your team, or was your team just blown away by the critical response?
Yeah, no, it wasn't expected at all. And for Game Connection 2016, that was actually the first time we'd been nominated for anything, and we got nominated for 7 of the categories, and then won 3 of them. So yeah, it was like I couldn't have dreamed of getting a reception like that, which yeah, was really cool. And yeah, we've been so lucky that that people have liked the game so much, and those are all from like the kind of vertical slice that we made, or different stages of it, because it's been over several years. And yeah, it's gone through quite a few iterations, and yeah, we just hope that we can get the rest of the game to that quality bar, and that people will like the full thing just as much, because yeah, it's so rewarding to after you've worked so hard on something for so many years to put it in front of people and see them have a great reaction, and it really resonate with them.
Absolutely. I can. Do you know what? I can only imagine how that feels. Like, obviously, I'll probably never know from a gaming developer's perspective, but that feeling, knowing that your game is being well received and to have the credentials to prove it with these awards must be a huge, huge, huge tap on the back for your team and yourself. Like a huge morale boost when maybe days were feeling a bit dark. The days weren't. Maybe there was days where like you thought, oh God, like I'm having a bad day, or there was probably days you wanted to give up because something wasn't doing. So I don't know. I don't. You can laugh all you want, Mark. Obviously, I'm just talking as a dumbass Welsh gamer over here. I don't know anything about game development, but I can imagine with any other job in the world, there's days where things just aren't going your way, and you just want to give up. You just want to kick the bucket and leave and walk out and go to the pub and have a few pints just to drown your sorrows. And a reward, and like these kinds of awards are just must be massive like assurances and reassurances that you are doing a good job and what you're doing is working. And you guys,
Yeah, it's really cool. Also does put on a bit of pressure, and yeah, you feel you want to make sure you deliver on that potential, and yeah, that it's the experience people are hoping it is. But yeah, it's really nice to get that kind of validation, and yeah, but it's just knuckling down now and getting it done. But yeah, it's like anything. You do have good days and bad days, and I think working on your own project, like, it's kind of different to being at a bigger studio, in that the highs are higher, and and a small team, so it's great for all the team members to be involved with something like that. But then the lows are lower as well, because you kind of take everything a bit more personally, and you're kind of closer to everything, so can be sort of extra rewarding, but extra punishing as well when things aren't going right.
No, sorry, Boom. I'll let you take the floor, Boom. But thanks for your answer, Mark. Appreciate that.
No problem. Listen, like I said, this is what we do. That's why we work so well together, Welsh. But the one thing I'm going to say, Mark, especially in this particular generation, which we know started in 2013, with the reveal of the consoles, the indie scene itself has really put a stamp. And I'm not just talking about on the PlayStation 4 or the Xbox or even the Switch. I'm talking about just the entire generation as a whole. The indie scene has really positioned themselves to be one of the important cogs that keep the industry moving. Sure, it's easy to throw money at the wall and make a game a AAA, right? It's easy if you're a Microsoft or you're a Sony or you're a Nintendo for that matter, because they have limitless funds. But when you talk about indie teams, Mark, they're usually much smaller and often have the ability to put their personal touch on a project. And that's what like I said, if anyone has not seen the trailer, I have it in the show notes. I really highly suggest taking a look at it. And I guarantee you're going to get the same emotional draw that both Drew and I got from when we confirmed Mark's appearance on the show. We obviously wanted to make sure that we crossed every T and dotted every I. And I've watched the trailer 4 times because it's amazing to look at. But my question to you, Mark, is how long has Lost Words been in development?
So that the game jam when I started it was about 6 years ago.
Wow.
Now, and so I was working on it on and off in my spare time for 2 years after that. Then when I left my job to work on it full time, yes, sort of 4 years and a bit since then now, heading remarkably quickly towards 5, I guess. And so yeah, it was kind of really small team to begin. Well, after the game jam, it was just me, and then I was working with an artist and programmer, and then sort of grew from there really. So yeah, when I got some funding, we'd hired on a bunch of people, and it's been in the last 2 years really that the team size has sort of grown quite a bit more. And yeah, that it's been sort of full steam ahead.
It's very exciting, and like I said, the personal touch that you guys have been able to do is sometimes missed on bigger studios. And again, I'm not taking away from the bigger studios, because obviously we've seen a game like Gears 5 that just was released by the Coalition, and the emotional story from start to finish that's told in that game is incredible. But at the same time, a smaller team like yours with 12 people, including yourself, have a real opportunity to kind of just put those extra special touches on the game. And like I said, I'm very excited to play the game, but I'm more excited for your team to see the success. I have a really good feeling it's going to garner. Would you like to take the last question of this interview, Drew?
With absolute pleasure. As we have already discussed, it releases in December, or at least might release in December. Like, it is what it is. Like, obviously you're working very hard. The way I see it is there probably shouldn't even be a time limit on any of these things, because you've got to, I'd rather a developer personally take need to bring out the perfect game. But are there any plans for a follow-up title? I know it's obviously too early to say, but is there a sequel to this game? Or an entirely new title that you've been working on in the background?
So I think it kind of depends on how this one does, and then we would sort of look at where we want to go from there. like we said, I've been working on it for quite a few years now, and so it'd definitely be cool to work on a different project. And but if people really like it, then I think there's definitely makes sense to produce a new title for it. And it could be it follows on from the same character later on, or it could be that it's a completely different story but told in a similar style.
Very interesting.
That'd be well. I mean, like the fact of the matter is, obviously, I'm looking forward to playing this one. The third, Lost Words Beyond the Page. I can't wait to play that. But based on the awards, based on the clear passion you have for the title, say that in whatever circumstance, whether it was a continuation or a new project entirely, whatever the case, I think it's a pretty safe bet that you guys aren't nearly finished. You're not hanging your hats anytime soon. You're not going to be. For me, like I can just say, like whatever you do work on in the future, look forward to seeing it because this game in particular, right now, the one in question, looks very good, and I cannot wait to get my hands on it personally.
Excellent. Thanks very much. Yeah, glad to hear it.
Well, Mark, I got to tell you, first of all, I want to thank you again for taking the time. And again, as everyone knows, to get a developer, regardless of size of studio, on for nearly 45 minutes is tough. And Mark, I got to tell you from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for really talking about the game in a way that I hope garners a ton of sales and interests a lot of the people that listen to this particular show, because I think that what you have is a real winner. I think that you have real talented people working on this game, including yourself. And I could not be more happier for a smaller team. And I really hope that the sales of this game brings the ability to of course grow as a studio, but also open up the doors for a potential sequel or even another game from your company. Any closing statements you'd like to make before you get on out of here?
Just thanks very much for having me. It's been great talking to you guys.
Well, yes, it's been a real honor. It really certainly has, and you've been an absolute proper gentleman, and very welcoming. And I hope that you had a great time on the show. Drew, would you like to say anything to Mark before he gets on out of here?
No, absolutely. Well, a British developer. It's nice to see. I like a fellow Brit. Nice to talk to you. It's amazing, like because we all have a passion for this industry. It's almost like we've known each other. It's weird. Like it's interesting. Like but no, mate, it was really an honor having you here to get insight on this amazing project. And I really hope we get to have you on here again in the future. Like, maybe after the game's released and we can talk in depth about the game. Like, who knows?
Yeah,
I certainly hope so.
Wales has
but
quite
thank
a
you.
good,
Thank you very much.
Wales has quite a good dev scene from what I hear, and you've got Wales Interactive there, haven't you? And some really good universities. I think lots of the game designers I know graduated from universities in Wales, including Mike Bithell and Dan DeRocher, and so it seems like it's quite a good area for game dev.
That's awesome. I just wish I was smart enough to be involved in it.
Well, you definitely are. If you wanna make games, that's the perfect time. There's so many free engines and tutorials, and everyone's got something different that they could bring to the table. And even if you just want to make an experience with Twine or Scratch or something, that can be a great way to get started and tell a story. Because it's you don't need to spend years on it necessarily to make something that really can make a difference and can get picked up. I was working on a game with a friend of mine at a 24-hour game jam, and it was called Error Prone. It was about self-driving cars, and so we made this thing in one day. I think it was actually 12-hour rather than 24-hour, and we posted it, and then ended up going viral and getting seen. Like, someone posted it on Imager and it got seen by like 2 million people. And yeah, it was just this really small thing. It's funny because we were both working on other games. You know, I was working on Lost Words, he was working on his game Cadence, and it's like you want to get eyes on this thing, but then that you've been working on for years, but then this other game that you made in a day then gets all this traction, and funny how that can happen.
Oh, Christ! It's just sod's law, isn't it? Like, literally, like, it's like when you look at like YouTube as an entity, like you know, smaller channels out there that like produce content daily, and we put, you know, you put your heart and soul into it and stuff. And you might only be lucky to get 100 subs, but then someone out there one day will just take a selfie of them taking a dump on a toilet or something, doing a Gollum, you know, or doing like a Gollum impression or something stupid like that, and it goes viral, and they've got 5 million subs by the next morning, and it's like, how the hell do you put? Honestly, like, how you just can't predict some of the things that happen.
No.
Mark, again, my closing statement. Thank you. It's been a pleasure. And Boom, I'll pass the mic over. Thank you again, Mark.
Cheers, Welsh.
Well, Mark, we'll be keeping in touch. Obviously, you know, like Welsh said, post launch, would love to have you back on here to see how the team is and you are feeling about the reception. I expect it to be a good one. And you know what's crazy? I think you're going to do well on all consoles, but I think you're going to do exceptionally well on the Nintendo Switch. That game is very, very welcoming. For that, I mean, games are very welcomed, especially the smaller indie games on that platform, and they do exceptionally well in sales. And because it's a perfect system that gives the players the ability to pick up and go, or just stay in front of their couch. But thanks again for being here, and please enjoy the rest of your day. And we look forward to hearing more about this game in the future.
That's great. Thanks very much for having me.
All right, Mark. Thanks again, my friend. Really appreciate it. Well, Welsh, I got to tell you. Hold on just a second. It's just the fire engine putting out the fire, because this show is so much on fire. Anyway, listen, Drew, I got to say, this was an amazing interview. And I'll say it again. I feel absolutely privileged for the opportunity and you know, speaking to the development community as well as some of the industry movers and shakers we've had on the show is really exciting. And but I want to move on to some of the hot Xbox news that we have on tap for today's show, because obviously this is the Xbox Factor podcast, and because we had an amazing indie developer talking about an upcoming title, I kind of want to bring up Game Pass, because, you know, again, we never get tired of talking about Game Pass, because quite frankly, it is the greatest thing since sliced bread. And like we've stated in several other episodes, we have the pick of the week. And Drew, I have a really good one, but I'm not sure. Do you have yours ready to rock and roll?
Yes, of course I do.
Okay, so then take it away and I'll follow you.
Alrighty. This, Boom, I gave little thought, and I'll make you understand why. This would have been my pick of the week last week, but obviously I was otherwise occupied. But this is the easiest. This will probably be the easiest pick of the week in the duration of this show, until we're old and grey and rocking chairs and we can't even turn on our phones. I mean, I know, I get it. People are going to be looking at me and going, "Oh, couldn't you have thought of something else? Well, something a little less obvious." But hell no, I can't. I'm not going to get many opportunities to bring Gears 5 into the fold for a pick of the week for Game Pass. But if Gears 5 isn't my pick of the week, I don't know what else is, because Gears 5 is the best Gears game I've ever played. I've been a huge fan of Gears since the first one. And, you know, Gears 1, 2, 3, Gears 4, Gears 5, Gears Judgment, they are all phenomenal games in their own right. Gears 2 probably was the best one story-wise I could think of until I played Gears 5. And
nice.
The multiplayer, Boom. The multiplayer, oh my sweet baby.
You're an assassin. I saw some of your video. It's ridiculous.
Dude, mate, Gears Online is where I shine. Like I'm not an amazing online gamer. I love playing online and I love getting stuck in. I'm very competitive, but Gears of War is my jam, bro. I literally bought a new controller yesterday just for Gears 5 Online because literally it is so critical. Like any button press or whatever, it's split seconds. So if you've got a bust controller or a controller that isn't up to snuff, you're gonna be sorry about it later. But mate, honestly, Gears 5 has to be my pick. Arguably, I know we're probably going to get to this later on in the show, but Gears 5 has to be the probably at this point the killer app for Game Pass. Like Game Pass is an amazing service, and we have bigged it up on so many levels. And frankly, you can't go wrong when it comes to subscribing to that service. It is a no-brainer, even before Gears 5 dropped. But Gears 5 has to be, for me, that killer app that service was probably just about needing, like that little gap. Like, because now, like, that's all people are going to see when they look at Game Pass is just the Gears 5 logo or whatnot. It is a phenomenal game. If you're anyone in this chat, if it's even possible that you haven't heard of Gears or played Gears or whatever, this is the time to get into it. Gears 5 is phenomenal. I loved everything about it. I loved the new approach with the two massive open areas where you could explore and go around the houses and actually go away from the main story, with the option to skip that entirely if you just wanted to go, which is what me and you said for ages, Boom. Like, we're all about that open world feel, but if at any point you don't want to do all the extra stuff, you just want to go straight to the story and keep it traditional, you have that option.
Yeah, absolutely.
The campaign is next to none, in my opinion. It is the best campaign of any Gears I've ever played. And frankly, in terms of this generation and Xbox's offerings in terms of single player, so not even talking about the multiplayer, because I could go on another hour talking about that, it's the best single player game we've had this generation. And it is a testament to what Xbox is doing. And frankly, I know this might sound stupid because they're polar opposites, really. But this game, especially with the Halo Reach characters in it, has given me a huge insight. With the open world elements and stuff as well, Boom, it's given me a huge insight on what I can probably expect in terms of standard from Halo Infinite. So there's a lot of reasons why this game is a pick for me. And if you are one of the 3 people out there that haven't played this game, do yourself a favor and get your ass on Gears 5. That's all I got for you, Boom.
No, I mean, listen. I mean, you couldn't have put it any better. To be quite honest with you, it's definitely the game of the generation for Xbox. I don't think I'm gonna go on a limb saying that I think that it does have the chops to win Game of the Year 2019. It is what I always wanted in Gears. Like, you got to remember, if you harken back to some of the earlier episodes that you and I did, we got booed off the stage. If I recall correctly, about calling for an open world Gears or semi-open world Gears. You got to remember, people were booing. We were getting lots of boos in the chat. And even though this isn't a Witcher 3 type open world, it is something that a Gears fan has never experienced, and I think secretly always wanted, because there is a tremendous amount of world and lore building in this particular game by the collectibles. And it's not just dog tags that you find; it's actual readable material that you find in Archive. And I'm almost at 85% of the collectibles. And I'm on my second playthrough right now, and I'm going to make a different choice from the end, which I won't spoil for anybody. A lot of people have been asking, did you go left or right? I went, I believe it was right first, and I'm going to go left next. And if you've beaten the game already, you know what I'm referring to. If you haven't, well, I'm not going to spoil it for you, because quite frankly, this is a story that I highly recommend everyone playing, simply because, and again, I want this to be perfectly clear here, okay? I don't give a shit what flag you fly. I don't care if emerald blue is the only color that you see. If you are a gamer, okay, the same way I was running around the house with my cape draped over my shoulders that said PlayStation when I was playing Spider-Man, God of War, and Detroit Become Human last year. I'm running around with the Gears one right now because, quite frankly, it's a masterpiece. And I really want this to be. I want to drive this home, Welsh. I don't care what system you bow down to in the evenings. It's, in your private life. If you are a gamer, and I really mean this, if you are a gamer, not an Xbox gamer, not a Switch gamer, not certainly a PlayStation gamer, a gamer, you owe it to yourself to experience this story from start to finish, because it is, again, a masterpiece.
No, I couldn't agree more. And another thing I certainly don't give a shit about, pardon my French, is Metacritic's reviews and like Game of the Year award and stuff like that. Like, for me, a lot of that is hearsay, she say, and it's pretty much up in the air on what gets what. Boom. Probably for the first time this whole generation, if Gears 5 isn't at the very least a contender this Game of the Year, there's something dreadfully wrong with this industry. And I will say that wholeheartedly, proudly. I don't care if people record this segment of the show and share it and call me a clown. As someone who's never followed it, doesn't really care, has never cared, that Gears 5 is at the very least a contender. I think we, as the gaming populace now, not Xbox fans, but gamers,
yes,
need to question what the parameters are for Game of the Year, because at this point in time, if Gears 5 is just outstanding, beginning to end, everything about it, and it's the little details which you will probably never see in any other games out there, with maybe the exception of Halo. But the lore and the background, did you even know, Boom, that there's a part of the game where if you've collected artifacts for the lost Gears characters from previous games, there's a hidden part in one of the levels, I think it's in Act 2 or 3, where, no, it'd be like Act 4. But anyway, it doesn't matter. It's on YouTube, you can look at it. But if you've got all the character artifacts, like Ben Carmine's helmet, Anthony Carmine's helmet, Ty's earring, and half a dozen other things, there's a memorial wall which you can find in the game now.
Wow.
If you look into it, where you put down all of these artifacts on this memorial wall, and then it starts this like little sequence where you as Kate stand up, salute the wall, and then it just starts playing the classic Gears song with all of the ghosts, like Star Wars, of all these legendary Gears characters from all the past games, like Dominic and Kim, Ty, and half a dozen others like Ben and Anthony Carmine.
That's amazing. I did not know that, and I'm gonna like I said, as soon as I find all the collectibles, I will be looking to do that, because that is epic.
It's just attention to detail, paying absolute testament to the 5th installment in one of the most iconic franchises, and the Coalition should be nothing but proud of what they've achieved here. And like I said, this game goes way beyond the beginning and end shooting of some grubs that that the casual Gears fan might only see. If you are a fan of Gears, this game is just the tick to all those boxes. I mean, I know I've spent probably far too long for my pick of the week.
No, not at all.
I cannot profess, Boom, how much this was just an outstanding, you said it best, a masterpiece. I don't believe any game deserves a 10 out of 10, Boom, because in my opinion, every game out there in the world, there's always room for improvement. But if I had to score Gears 5, I'd give it a 9.9.
Yeah, no, that's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I gave it a 9.5 on my review. Real quick though, I know it's a little off topic. A gentleman, and I use the word loosely, Foamy Fats, in the chat basically is he says Gears 5 is not open world. I think I made that pretty clear that I said semi, and then of course he says stop spreading false info. First of all, dude, this is the first time I've seen you in the chat, And of course, I say welcome. But if you're going to come into my chat, you're going to be respectful. Otherwise, I'm going to ban you. All right. I don't spread false information. And if you're new to the channel, you'll understand that I fact check everything. As a matter of fact, maybe you're unaware, but the coalition sent me a copy to review, which I did. And and Rod Ferguson himself, as well as the art director, commented on my review. So please, just dial it back on calling people out unless you have the proper information. Because if there's one thing I take serious, it's the shows that I produce. And if I actually make a mistake, I'll be the first one to admit it. So I say, cool your jets, sit back, and enjoy the rest of the show. But I want to continue. My pick
and
of
for the record, Boom, though, we both said quite specifically semi-open world, so that guy needs a hearing aid immediately.
Well, apparently he's looking for a fight. Don't come to this channel looking for a fight, brother, because it's not going to happen. We don't do that here. This is a peaceful chat. People come to hang out and have fun, and it's well, again, he's saying that he wasn't talking about me. He's talking about Buck Roger. Listen, then you got to be specific, my friend, because when I read that, I don't know who you're talking about. And like I said, it's water under the bridge. Enjoy the rest of the show, and we're going to just move on. But I want to talk about my particular pick, and I've always been a big Tactics fan, which is probably why I'm so excited for Gears Tactics. I've also enjoyed XCOM. I'm not as much as my brother Neo Mental. But my pick of the week is something, it's called Shadow Tactics, Blades of the Shogun. And it's a stealth-oriented real-time tactics video game developed by Mimi Productions and published by, I'm going to butcher this, it seems like Dedlick Entertainment. It was originally released on the Xbox One on August 1st of 2017, but the game has recently been added to Xbox Game Pass, and being a huge Tactics fan, I don't know how I missed this, Drew. I'm going to be honest with you. This one is, if you like ninjas, if you like the Shogun type era, this is definitely for you. And why it's slightly unique is because there's a total of 5 characters that you can use throughout the mission. Like when you first start the game, you're using just the ninja. Then you move on to having the ability to use the samurai and the ninja. And then towards the end of the first level, you get a chance to use a sniper. He's an older, he's like a real old dude, but he has an unbelievable eye for sniping, and you can work together to finish off the level, and you need each other's help. It's very, very interesting. If you're a Tactics fan, I highly recommend talking about this. But Drew, I want to move on to the keeping with segueing into the next topic. The power of Xbox Game Pass is something that I think too many people within the community take for granted. When Gears 5 Ultimate was released, no one actually knew what the reception was going to be regarding the use of the service for this highly anticipated title from the Coalition. But I will say this. It turns out that I have found out a ton of information that proves that the Coalition not only has a runaway hit on their hands, but Microsoft's investment into a one-of-a-kind service will be paying off dividends on every first-party title being released under the Xbox Game Studios banner. And here's some of the information that I found, Drew, and we'll break it down per information. According to the Coalition, they had 3 times the amount of people playing Gears 5 than they expected. This influx of players caused some serious server issues that unfortunately hurt some player experiences when it came to like the auto-saving. Some playing online even had issues, and they ran into some trouble playing co-op. But from what I understand, they've had multiple patches that have fixed this. Does this for you, for someone like myself who always are talking about the power of Game Pass, 3 times the amount of players, does that say something for the service?
Yes. There's no other way to put it, Boom. It is for it to exceed even the Coalition's expectations. Like it speaks volumes for me. Like because in all the years I've played Gears, Gears 4 is the most significant I can come up with now. I don't think I ever had an issue with the connection or anything, and with the Azure servers and all that, it's safe to say that the in-house studios at Xbox probably rarely, if not ever, have real issues with their first-party titles. And for the Coalition to go into this game's release with probably a specific number in mind, and they prepared for that certain amount of people to be playing that game day 1, day 2, day 3, the first week, we'll put it, and they were met with 3 times the amount of people. That just says a whole lot to me. I mean, that many people have been on a Gears game within the first 24 hours since maybe Gears 2 or 3. It's pretty spectacular, really. And for one, am not surprised in the slightest that Game Pass had every bit to do with that, helping those figures along. Which just goes a long way, Boom, because as me and you have said a million times, how anybody on this planet with half a brain cell can say that Game Pass is a bad. And we've been saying it since they announced it way back when. Like, phenomenal. Like, the amount of people who are playing this game now. And, well, in another instance, I bet at least a significant portion of those people who are playing Gears are people who've probably never played Gears before. Just like, oh, do you know what? I've subscribed to Game Pass. I'm going to give it a go. And they're probably, I'd say 8 out of 10 of those people are likely loving it because, like I said in the previous topic, my pick of the week, it's a phenomenal game. Word of mouth, people getting to experience it for a very reasonable price with the service of Xbox Game Pass. I am not in the slightest surprised that the servers just went nah, because so many people tuned in to play that game. It has been fixed since then with some adjustments and the odd, whatever they've done over there. But no, I'm not surprised in the slightest, and I expect that number to keep growing, Boom.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Before I move on to the next tidbit of information, I have to, first of all, welcome and thank Sir X-Man with the outstanding $2 super chat. He says, I love the way Boom preaches gamer church. Listen, I'll respond to that. First of all, again, thanks for being here. Thanks for the generosity. Folks, the world is a horrible place, right? I mean, and the internet for itself is a horrible place, right? There are more terrible people on here than good. And I know I'm a small channel. I mean, I'm talking like indie size small, and I'm okay with that. I don't know if I'm ever going to hit 3,000 subs. If I do, great. If I hit 10,000, even better. What I strive for on this show and the 2 other live shows that I do is I want people to come here and just hang out and enjoy yourself. Leave all of the negativity behind, because you can easily just turn on the news or turn the pages of a newspaper and be disgusted. Gaming is supposed to be our outlet for fun. It's an escapism for many people. So that's why I take these chats so serious, because the chat is my extended family. And as a former police officer who still holds my duties as, very serious, I take any kind of shenanigans in this chat very serious. And, again, if you're not here to have fun, this is definitely not the place for you. So thank you for your comment, and of course your very generous donation, Sir X-Man. But I want to talk about something else here that has never been done before, but Gears 5 did it. And the number 1 game being played on Xbox is not Fortnite, Drew. It's Gears 5. And the behemoth from Epic Games has finally been dethroned. Not Apex Legends, GTA 5, Call of Duty Black Ops 4, or even Red Dead Redemption 2 online were able to do this. And that says a lot about Xbox Game Pass, but also the power of the Gears of War franchise. What are your thoughts on that?
That is a huge feat in itself, Boom. I mean, before we even discuss how many people, and like you said, previous tidbit, 3 times the amount that Coalition were expecting, for it to take 1 slot from, and this is the irony, Boom, Epic Games Fortnite.
It is.
That, an Epic Games being the previous dev for the Gears. I mean, really just shut down a lot of hate. I mean, it never will. You're always going to have those negative Nellies who are like, yeah, but Gears, it's great, and it's just another Gears. You're going to get those people. But mate, honestly, like, that's the thing though. Epic Games' Fortnite now has been riding the #1 slot for years now, and for Gears to take that #1 slot, it might be only temporary, but for it to still take it is amazing. And that's without even considering, like you said, Apex and Red Dead and Black Ops 4 and all. Like, it's robbed the #1 slot for all of those games, and that's not even a month shy of getting bloody Ninja on board with Mixer and stuff like that to promote Mixer through Fortnite, and still that wasn't enough to hold back the behemoth that was the Gears 5 train. Nothing short of a phenomenal feat, a huge milestone, a huge tap on the back for the Coalition. And yeah, I'm not surprised. I mean, Gears 4 was an outstanding game. There was a lot of things that did amazing. The only thing that was bad about that game is it wasn't adventurous enough. Said on a multitude of times that they went into Gears 4 with that mentality. Gears 5 was going to be their Gears, their stamp, their vision. And it's obviously paying off, Boom, and really, for me, provides a healthy dose of optimism for what is to come, like in future Gears titles and whatever the Coalition work on in the future. Like, I don't know if they're going to stop at Gears 6, continue with like prequels, like Pendulum Wars and what have you. But it's a huge feat to take the #1 slot. Is a huge feat to take that from Fortnite, no less. So yeah, amazing stuff.
Yeah, from what we understand, I think every first-party studio is working on multiple titles. So I would not be surprised. The Coalition, it may not be the largest first-party that Microsoft has, but if, with the success of Gears 5, there's no doubt that they're going to be looking to expand the studio. And if in fact that's true, Drew, that they do have multiple projects on every first party, we know we're going to get a Gears 6 based on the ending. And, the talent that was on display for Gears 5 is I mean, look, it's the biggest game, it's the best looking game, it's the most well told story this generation and that's 5 years, Drew. That's a lot. And the talent at the Coalition is unbelievable, quite frankly. And if they wanted to possibly do something outside of Gears, I can guarantee that it's going to be just as epic as of any of the Gears titles they've done, especially with the quality that was on display for Gears 5. But I do want to talk about one other particular piece of information that you might have heard on other shows, and obviously when we're the last Xbox show of the week, sometimes you hear the stuff twice, but we tell it in a different manner. Drew, Gears 5 attracted 3 million players across its opening weekend, not the week, but the weekend. And this is double the first week debut of Gears 4 in 2016, right? This makes it the most played Xbox game studio in its first week since 2012's Halo 4. And on PC on PC, Gears 5 tripled the performance of its predecessors, which makes it the biggest ever for an Xbox Game Studio Game Pass launch. Again, with that said, the community's go-to insider ZUGEX on Twitter, he wrote a post I thought was really interesting to collate with this particular topic that we're talking about. He says Gears 5 is the first mega hit of the Xbox Game Pass. Competitive pricing and recent offers, a large library of games, and access to Microsoft's first party has led to a higher number of signups. MS will be hoping that lots of users stick to the service moving forward. Now, Drew, my question to you is, I want to break this down on how big this over-criticized Xbox One service is, and how it proves that Microsoft was wise for investing in the Netflix of gaming for both console and PC platforms. What are your thoughts on that, dude?
There's just too many angles to come in at on this one, because first of all, you've got the first part you read, the Gears title that attracted over 3 million players across the opening weekend. But the Coalition, they had 3 times the amount of people that they expected to pick up this game. So that says to me that they were only expecting around 1 million people to jump in on that game, and they would have been happy with that figure. And over 3 million was the number in fact, in the end, 3 million. I mean, wow, like that is a huge number. I mean, like some games in their whole lifespan might only reach 5 million, 6 million, 8 million. And this game has already reached 3 in the opening weekend. Like that just for me just screams, wow. Next, in terms of like the next part of this tidbit, you said about the last time a game took off quite like this was 2012's Halo 4. And also you mentioned about on PC, Gears 5 tripled the performance of its predecessors, which once again, Boom, I know the main question here is to talk about why Game Pass was a great idea, but let's just stop for a second and consider the fact that how many times we've heard, it's not a true exclusive, blah, 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 because of the whole Play Anywhere initiative being
Right.
Xbox as a brand is dead. This is the worst idea in gaming. Well, the numbers would disagree with you, kind sir. For the figures on Xbox have tripled exponentially, and then on top of that, you've got however many. I can only imagine at least like 1 million, 1.5 million of those said players are PC enthusiasts that have gone out of their way to subscribe to the Xbox Game Pass service to play Gears of War 5, which means that more money's coming in, more projects can be worked on. There's so many angles to come at with this, Boom, and that's just an amazing feat in itself, which lends credit to the whole Play Anywhere thing, which we have been touting just as much as Game Pass.
Yes.
But that's where the pit stop of this long-winded answer of mine comes in, Boom, that it all starts with Game Pass. The reason why this is all possible and why this game is seeing figures that we haven't seen in a first-party studio since 2012, and the reason why so many PC gamers are getting involved and the Xbox logo is seen in more houses than it would have like 5 years ago before this generation began, is because Game Pass. And like I said before, Gears 5 is that killer app. It's garnering a lot of attention. A lot of people that this service is an incredible one. The perks that the Xbox ecosystem offers, like playing alongside other gamers. I've been playing against PC gamers this last fortnight, Boom. It's been amazing. I've been chatting, talking to loads of PC gamers. I didn't know they were actually that friendly. I thought they were horrible. I'm not going to lie, there's been this perception of PC Master Race and all that. I just kind of assumed they were all dickheads. But there's a lot of really nice people. So it is the minority, like they say, like the minority are louder than the majority.
Yeah, always, yes.
Absolutely, and it's amazing because the way I see it is I welcome them all with open arms. If they want to sub to the Xbox Game Pass service and play with me on Gears 5 and promote the Xbox brand and ecosystem even more money, more projects, more promise of future hardware, titles and services, I say go get them. This is just an amazing thing, and that tweet you read out about being the first mega hit on Xbox Game Pass, I could argue the same thing. This is the killer app that the Game Pass service needed,
yes,
and hopefully more to come. Competitive prices and offers and a large library. I mean, as we've said a million times, that's why Game Pass is so inviting. For anyone out there who says that Game Pass is still a dead end, you are just laughing into a pillow or crying into a pillow. There's something seriously wrong with you.
That's great.
Mate, it is the Netflix of gaming. And if you don't agree with that, then you're a stupid bastard. Because you can't get any more simple. Netflix has gotten ridiculously popular over the years with its versatility, its expanded reach, the limitless way to access it via all these different devices, all these different means. You could be in a hotel, in the middle of God knows where. As long as you get Wi-Fi, you can watch bloody Stranger Things on your mobile phone. This is where gaming's heading, and Xbox is leading that charge. And this is just proof. Look at how popular this one game has been across PC and console. Imagine if we were already at that point, Boom, where people could be gaming on their tablets and mobile phones. This game would probably have gotten 5 million people on board by now.
Yes.
Who the hell knows? We can only guess, but it sounds very promising at this point. And now I take a breath. I just can't profess, Boom, fanboy, and I'm just this weirdo who loves Xbox, but I just appreciate what they're doing. I'm a tech guy. I love tech. I love innovation. I love something new. I'm not one of these cavemen who are scared of their own shadow because the fireplace displays them with a bloody 10-inch tall, bloody 10-foot tall shadow behind them and they're shitting themselves. I like to see progression, and I am excited of where this is going, and it all starts with Game Pass. Gears 5, it being the killer app, has proved that it can hit like milestones that we probably haven't seen yet. It's just outstanding, Boom. I don't know what else to say. I've probably said it all. Absolutely phenomenal. Game Pass is an absolute steal for the gamer.
Well, it saved you
Everyone
$80.
needs to get
This is an $80 title if you get the Ultimate Edition, right?
I've said 1,000,001 times. I can't believe this hasn't sank in with a lot of people. But 1 year, and this is if you're not frugal like yourself, Boom, getting like 6 months for the price of one. If you are just, Timmy, who's subscribing to Game Pass, the equivalent of 1 year's subscription, if you total up for 12 months, price is 2 AAA titles.
Yes. Yep.
Well, technically 1.5 if you go with Gears 5, as it's an £80 title.
It's a killer deal,
mate. You're just people who are still touting that this service is the nail in Xbox's coffin.
It's just at this point, it's just silly. It's just you're making yourself look silly. Drew. Real quick, before I continue on to talking about Xbox, and this is a positive show. I have to thank quite a few people. First of all, Raymond Morrell with the outstanding $5 super chat. He says, "Hey, Boom and Welsh. Do you guys think that the Coalition will do Gear 6, then Perfect Dark? Keep up the good work, fellas." Well, first of all, I want to say, Raymond, thank you so much for being here. You're always in the chat, and you're always usually first. So thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to hang out with us. Like we were saying earlier, there was rumors that they, in fact, were assisting another developer in putting the final finishing touches on a Perfect Dark reboot. That has been really dead silent as of yet. We have not heard anything. And I think that Joanna Dark has a place in 2019, maybe 2020, because if done correctly with the with the Coalition behind them, even if whether or not they're fully developing or just assisting, it's going to be an amazing game. Jay Rios drops an incredible and very generous $2 super chat. He says, "This is way better than Xbox Nation from crap." Well, listen, let me tell you this. I won't talk about the dude. He does his shows the way he does it. I am going to kind of put my foot down and say this. If you are looking for a show that talks positively, that loves the brand, that will call them out when they do the wrong thing, but will never harp on negativity, then this show is definitely for you, because there is so much for Xbox fans to be excited about. If you can't see that, then maybe that platform isn't for you. The future is very bright. I have to Deadly Chaos 75 with an outstanding $10 super chat. He says, "Boom and Welsh, keep up the good work." Well, thank you for being here, dude. I really appreciate that. But more importantly, thank you for the generosity. That is very nice of you. And of course, Gotham Guy, who always donates. Dude, you're amazing. He drops an incredible $10 super chat, and he says, "It warms my heart to hear common sense being discussed from you, Boom and Welsh Gamer, Dealer Gaming, and Randall Thor regarding Gears 5 sales numbers. The continuing hate mongering is disrespectful." Yeah, you know what? Here's the thing, folks. Look, I will never tell you not to go and watch someone's show because their opinion varies or severely differs from the Welsh and my opinion, because that would not be right. I say you are an adult, and if you, like I was saying just a few seconds ago, if you want to hear two proper gentlemen in the Welsh and myself talk about the Xbox brand, and again, I will say this, I will repeat myself, when Microsoft makes a mistake, Drew and I, rest assured, we will talk about it, but harping on it and trying to drive the negative point of Xbox brand, I gotta be honest with you, it's a little boring, and it's played out at this point. You know what I'm saying? I think that there's more good going on here than people want to give it credit for. And, again, I know that we talk a lot about Xbox Game Pass, but Drew, last minute, we had a breaking story regarding Xbox Game Pass that I had as the fifth topic that I'm actually going to come around to because I want to keep order with the show. And the information I'm going to provide for everybody is once again prove that the community is going to go bonkers with the next set of epic titles being released within the next week or so. So let's break this down. Now, first of all, I don't like giving them credit, but I have to give credit where I pull my information from, and I pulled this story from IGN. And they're claiming some pretty huge titles will be added to the already staggering list of games available on Xbox Game Pass. And this is what they had to say: Game Pass is getting Jump Force on September 19th. Now, if you are a big fan of the Dragon Ball games, and I am, and I didn't pick this up. I missed this because I didn't have the money for it. Drew, I'm super stoked. But before I get your opinion on the 5 games that we're going to talk about, Bloodstained Ritual of the Night is coming on September 19th as well. 2 outstanding, in my opinion, AAA games. And then on September 26th, you're going to have something called Bad North Jotun. It's called the Jotun Edition, and this apparently is a strategy game that I've never heard of. Apparently, it's supposed to be pretty good. And then the last 2 on the 26th to make it a total of 5 additional games being added before the month ends. You're getting Dirt Rally 2.0, which IGN gave an 8.5 out of 10, and you're getting Lego Worlds, all great titles to find more players. And just real quick, if you're a PC player, Microsoft does not appear to be making these games available for PC, but did include a brief mention that more games would be coming to the PC service in a separate announcement. Drew, what are your thoughts on this?
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
My green ring wasn't showing. I thought it cut me out. But no, my thoughts on this are pretty simple. Like, all of those games you mentioned, because I after you sent me the list, I looked up each one individually just to get an idea. Dirt Rally 2, I look forward to trying that. I do love a race. I used to play a lot of Dirt Rally games, so I'll always give that a go. I'm not a big racer fan, so I'm not probably going to play it forever, but I'll have it a go. And the Lego Worlds, I like Lego games, I can't deny that. But as for Bloodstained Ritual and what's the other one? We have
Lego Worlds, and you also had the Bad North.
Jump Force. That's the one, Jump Force. I'll be honest, like, they're not for me, but they don't have to be for me. Like, that's what I love about this service. I mean, Jump Force and Bloodstained Ritual of the Night are anime, Japanese titles, and and just from looking at them, they do nothing for me. Like, frankly, to be honest, I know it might sound stupid. I'm not judging people for liking those sort of games because you just said you like them as well, Boom. But I just don't see the hype for those types of games. The and all that, the over-the-top bloody animations and stuff. It does nothing for me. But what I think's amazing, Boom, and this is where I don't need to like these games. I just like the fact that Game Pass isn't just focusing on like the one demographic, like, oh, you all of these games must look like this, look like that. Like the fact that there's going to be a lot of variety in that service to make more and more people come over and try it. Like people who love, like you said, Dragon Ball Z, Japanese titles, they're hack and slash Japanese games and their fighter games and stuff like that, like are gonna gravitate towards the service maybe now because of a game like this. And it just lends credit to the likes of Phil as well, who has promised over the years to keep bringing the Japanese content over, making the Xbox a home for Japanese games. And now that we're going to see more of those types of titles in the Game Pass service as well, it's just testament to the service. So even though out of all those games, the only two that like I probably will give a try is Lego Worlds and Dirt Rally, that like the next person that you ask could say, oh, I can't wait to try Jump Force, I can't wait to try Bad North Jotun Edition. Like there's something for everyone with this service, and that's my takeaway from this topic, Boom, is the fact that same with like games with gold every month. Not every game is going to be a mind blower,
right?
But each month, chances are at least one of them will out of the four will appeal to you. And it's the same here. If you look at the laundry list of titles on that service,
it's ridiculous.
And there's so many different types. Like you've got so many different genres and different styles, and it's just outstanding, Boom. And I just, for one, can say that it's nice to see. Like, granted, I won't repeat myself, but Jump Force and Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, like, does nothing for me at all. Each to their own. Big ups to those who can't wait to play them, but does nothing for me. But the fact that is going to garner attention to the people out there who do like those types of games, and that'll be an extra person out there who subscribes to the service, just forever concludes what we've been saying, Boom, that Game Pass is an outstanding service with a hell of a lot of choice. Because when I look at Netflix, Boom, and I always compare to Netflix, so many things on Netflix that I won't even look at because it does nothing for me.
Right.
But then there's loads of stuff on Netflix that I love and follow and watch and give the time of day. Netflix is bad because there's a lot of content on there that doesn't appeal to me. No, it just means that it's got a lot of variety and there's a lot of choice for a lot of different people with different tastes. And that's what you get with Xbox Game Pass. So big ups to getting those titles over, and I hope people enjoy them.
No, absolutely. Real quick before I move on to the next topic, and it's an original one as well, I have to thank new channel member Deadly Chaos 75 for becoming a channel member, but I have to also thank Philly Eagle and what he says in this in this message. First of all, Philly Eagle, thank you for the $5 super chat. That is very generous of you. He says, if sales determine what you will buy, you are a sheep. Hashtag fun is not universal, it's subjective. And yes, that is very true. And also, JD Gamer, who's also always here with the very generous $10 super chat, he says, how can all these PS fanboys call Game Pass anything but great when we get day and date with Microsoft's first-party content, and we are getting more and more AAA third-party content very soon after release? Yeah, there is no way else you can say about it. I mean, it's amazing that we get all this content. Real quick, Rios J with the additional $2 super chat. Thank you so much. He says, GT yourself for a new sub. Keep up the positivity. Listen, thank you so much, dude. I really appreciate all the subs as well as, of course, the outstanding generosity because, listen, I don't do this for the money, folks. I do this because I love this community. I enjoy interacting with you. And quite frankly, I really, truly enjoy producing this content. Like it's really something that it's my zen, believe it or not. I could talk about games 24 hours a day, and you guys, you got to remember, I really want to just kind of push this back on the community. I only do this because of you. You guys let me know that you wanted to hear more and more from me, and I cannot thank you enough. Really, from the bottom of my heart, you've made this possible, and that's because of this support that this community gives me on a weekly basis, so I'm always going to be very grateful for that. But Drew, I want to talk about this original created topic for today's show. When you talk about quality control...
Sorry, Boom. Can I just stop you for 1 second? I just want to comment on what JD Gamer said, if that's okay.
Oh, please, by all means, go right ahead.
He said, like, how can all these PS fanboys call Game Pass anything but great when it with day and date Microsoft first party and all the other all the other titles that drop? I got something quite simple to say, and it might not be a popular opinion, but it's something I stand by. Xbox innovates, PlayStation imitates. Now, what I mean by that is, over the years, since probably the OG and the 360 era, innovated in a lot of different ways, trying different things. Some things turn out to be successful. Other things, fall and burn. But at least they try things.
Right. No, I agree with that. That's a great point.
Honestly, it's amazing. Like, even just like go back in time to like party chat now, right? Now, I remember when Xbox first, in their bloody slider, bloody new dashboard update, introduced party chat. The only console doing that. And I remember, Boom, I will never forget it, the amount of, because, back then you didn't have Twitter and Facebook, it was just your friends in school.
Right.
You had your mates who were PlayStation gamers, you had your mates who were Xbox gamers, and Christ alive, Boom, I remember how salty these guys were, and they'd come up with the worst excuses, like, why would you want to party up with your friends? The whole point of gaming is to get into game chat and stuff. And it's like, I'll agree with that to some extent, but come on now. Wouldn't you rather have the option to jump into a party and play with your friends?
Of course you would. Of course.
No matter what game you're playing on. Honestly, like, and that's just one example. Like, honestly, do you know what? I'm going to go through the history books and going to come up with a list of all the things that I'm talking about here, where Xbox has done something and PlayStation has followed suit.
Yeah, you know what? That would be great for next show, dude, because I love when you come up with original content. That sounds like it'd be a great topic.
What I'm going to do, I'm going to provide that list for next week's show, just so I have got backup for my claim here. But what I'm getting at with regards to what JD Gamer said is, mark my words, if they haven't already, they will eventually. PlayStation will be investing a lot of money and time into something that can compete with Game Pass. Mark my words. And the funny thing is, Boom, like I've seen with every example I'm on about, those same PlayStation fanboys will go from saying Game Pass is a failure to, PlayStation Game Pass is way better than Xbox Game Pass. Ha ha ha, PlayStation for life. Xbox is dead. Honestly.
Great.
Mark my words. So apologies for that. A mini Welsh rant, but I just had to jump on the back of what was an excellent comment by JD Gamer. Couldn't agree more. And it's just a pattern I've come to see so many times, man. So many times. PlayStation's imitation game goes way back, way past even when the Xbox was around. Because of PlayStation, Sega doesn't exist anymore. Because PlayStation plagiarized and stole everything Sega was doing. And now Sega is not a console manufacturer anymore. There's so much in the history books, but I will provide that next week. Mark my words. Boom,
that's great. I'm looking forward to that. Real quick before I continue with this topic, a couple more super chats that I have to address. First of all, Sir X-Man with the additional outstanding $10 super chat. He says, "How awesome would it be if Microsoft would pay Capcom $20 to $30 million to develop a new Power Stone and make it an Xbox exclusive? I wouldn't even go the Game Pass route. I would buy it outright." No. First of all, let me just say this, Sir X-Man. That's an amazing. Not only is it an amazing question, okay, it could be purposed for an amazing topic, because right now we've seen Sony, who's very aggressive. They're very aggressive when it comes to their marketing and getting deals. And it's because of the aggressiveness we got a Street Fighter V. Like, that was not going to happen if it wasn't for Sony pushing the envelope. And apparently they're working with them. I don't know if they're working again with them with Street Fighter 6. I would be devastated. Even though I'd buy it on the PlayStation 5 or whatever it's going to come out for, I would really enjoy having a Street Fighter on the Xbox. And I agree. This is a magnificent idea. And one that they should do more of. Second party deals, which is what this would be, even though they're a third party developer, is something that we saw in the 360 era that was phenomenal. I mean, they dominated the market because of these second and third party exclusives, the same way you're seeing the PlayStation 4 do with a lot of the JRPGs and the Japanese based games. Like, everyone wants a Persona 5 on the Xbox, but it wants a Neo 1 and Neo 2 on the Xbox, and we still don't have them. Heck, we don't even have the gang simulator from Sega on the Xbox. That's PlayStation, not exclusive per se, but it's only available on the PlayStation 4. And I would love to see them do that more often. I mean, no doubt about it. But I have to thank JD Gamer, dude. You're very generous, dude. He drops 2 more super chats. The first one is $5, so thank you for that. He says, "Why do you think so many Xbox-focused channels are so negative on Xbox right now? Is it for the clicks?" And the answer is absolutely yes. Apparently, hating on the Xbox platform garners a tremendous amount of viewage. We've seen this happen, and I'm not going to mention the guy's name because I don't really like to talk about anybody. There's a specific dude that I used to watch. And he turned from being an Xbox guy to a PlayStation dude, and he quadrupled his subs the amount of subs he was able to get in a matter of 3 months. It was a staggering amount of numbers. And that's because he turned. Now, I mean, granted, I can't honestly say whether or not he did it for clicks. I'm not the person. But I have said this privately, and I'll fucking say it. Pardon my French. I'll say it publicly right now. If I ever have to change because of clicks and numbers, I will quit this business. I'll tell you that right now. I'll quit tomorrow. What you see is what you get with me, and that's always going to be the standard fare. So you never worry about me changing. And his second $5 super chat, he says, "Sir X-Man, I would love a Power Stone, but I would love a crossover mash between Killer Instinct and Capcom characters." My God, JD, that is... I will say this: if there's one thing that I was disappointed about E3 2019, was the fact that Killer Instinct 2, a proper Killer Instinct 2, was not even mentioned. Though I am going to go out on a limb here and say that I believe that Killer Instinct 2, an actual second part built from the ground up, is in fact going to be a launch title for the Scarlet. Now, and you can lock that in. I've said that. I have no inside information, but they understand that it's still an amazing fighter. It's still one of the best fighters this generation. And you got to remember this was from two different developers. The first one got bought up by Amazon, which they've done nothing with that company, and the company that stepped in to continue the Killer Instinct games have completely just knocked it out of the park. I believe we're going to get a Killer Instinct 2 as a launch title, the same way we had Killer Instinct as a launch for the Xbox One. But Drew, I just want to harken back to this title. I mean, to this next topic. And I've said this. The quality control on the Xbox One this generation, depending, of course, who you ask, especially when it comes to first-party games, has not been as top-notch as some would like. And I say that some because I've enjoyed what they've given us, but I of course think that they could do better. And entering the squared circle is the behemoth known as Gears 5. Now, the quality, like we've talked about numerous times, around every corner of this game is just screaming with absolute dominance in quality. But here is my question, Drew, and I really want you to elaborate on this because I know you're going to have a lot to say. Ultimately, the success and quality that we got in Gears 5, should that become the standard as the, I mean, ground floor standard for Microsoft first parties moving forward.
This is the thing, Boom, right? I couldn't agree with that statement more. And there's a positive and a negative to take away from that, because when you have a game like Gears 5, which has hit credible levels, like on what a first party game can look like and what it can deliver, on one hand, I would completely agree that it should be the new standard set for any first party AAA / quadruple A. You know, if we discuss the initiative, God damn it, what are they doing in the initiative? Yeah, I can agree that is a standard we should come. But the only issue with that statement as well, a lot of developers out there that might be first party, might be second party, third party, what have you, like if we're comparing on all fronts, typically cannot reach those sort of benchmarks. And nowadays, maybe not myself and you, Boom, but they'll be criticizing those said games for not reaching. Now, one game I can think of, for instance, is State of Decay. Like State of Decay 2, as I hold no apologies for this. Last year, I love that game, even though it was a buggy mess at launch. It had a whole load of issues. It's still, for me, one of the funnest games I've played this generation, hands down. And I have a lot of, I can put a lot of faith in the fact that State of Decay 3 will be bigger, better, and all round more polished in just about every sense of the gaming development. But do I expect it to be anywhere near the level of Gears 5 and what I can expect like Halo Infinite to be at? No, hell no. But does that mean that game's a fail at launch, dead on arrival, because it hasn't? No, I don't think so, but a lot of people will, because Gears 5 has set a whole new benchmark. Now, that goes for all things. Like when I look at games like GTA 5 or The Witcher 3, those two games set a whole... No, sorry, not GTA 5, Red Dead 2.
Right.
Red Dead 2 and The Witcher 3. Those two games, Boom, have set a precedent on what an open world RPG needs to do. Anything less would probably be considered a fail by a lot of people. Now, Cyberpunk 2077 is around the corner. People are hyping that up. But for me, if that game isn't as fun and as captivating and as immersive and I'm not as immersed and having as much fun as I was playing The Witcher 3, then for me, that game, I'm not saying it's a bad game, but it hasn't reached those standards for me. But obviously that's subjective. But
exactly, that's a great point. A game's quality, whether you think it's a AAA or not, is a and that goes for the game, whether the game is good or not, is subjective. Absolutely.
Absolutely. But if we're just, without me going off on some random tangent, because I just love talking about this stuff. With regards to the question itself, Boom, would I agree that Gears 5's benchmark being set is something that I expect from more first party studios in the future moving forward, like in terms of quality? Absolutely. I mean, I said earlier when I was just discussing my pick of the week, that like playing Gears 5 when I'm playing online and I'm playing as Emil and Kat, the Halo Reach characters, and I'm looking at the graphics, the detail in their armor, and after playing the campaign, obviously with the open world element added to it, the semi-open world element for those of you out there, you nitpickers, you bastard. But like those things, those moments, Boom, playing Gears has already like made my expectations triple Halo Infinite. Like, I can't speak for any other game, but for Halo Infinite, I can say confidently that playing Gears has enhanced my expectations for Halo Infinite. So, yes, I think it's a very fair thing to say that, if there's people out there who expect this type of quality from all first-party studio games moving forward, I can't take that away from them, Boom. And frankly, it's a great benchmark to have, because Gears 5 had smashed it out the park, and for them to be able to hold their chins up and say, hey, we did this, we hit this milestone, we we set a new precedent for what Xbox can deliver. How can anyone take that as a bad thing? That is a nice thing to have, but I just hope it doesn't get into people's heads because there's obviously some games out there that can't reach those heights.
You know, it's funny that you say that, because my next statement is something that I think a lot of people are certainly overlooking. First of all, I have to welcome a very good friend of mine, a friend of mine, of everybody, Saltiest Gaming's in the chat. And he just dropped a new video, which I suggest everyone get over there to his channel and check out, regarding the 2 SKUs that are apparently going to be happening for the PlayStation 5 in both a regular model and a Pro model, which we'll be talking about tomorrow live on the air for Breakfast with Boom. And before I continue with this particular topic, JD Gamer, my God, dude, you're just absolutely incredible. Drops an additional $5 super chat. He says the new studios will allow more dev time. How much better do you think Sea of Thieves, State of Decay, ReCore, or Crackdown 3 could have been within another 6 months in development time? You see, here's the thing. I don't necessarily know, okay? And your question actually is going to segue, JD, right into my next statement. See, I don't necessarily know if additional 6 months could have helped those games. I am going to say this, though. There's something going on at Microsoft that no one is talking about. Okay, it's something that's done at Sony that a lot of people also just completely glance over, because people are really, when they see the games coming out for a Sony's first party, and it's amazing, that's all that they see. But what they fail to see, and something that no one ever talks about, is Sony within their development houses are always stopping at each other's house for tea, right? Like someone from Naughty Dog may pop in on the team that's doing, Horizon Zero Dawn 2. And in doing so, their development prowess from Naughty Dog could be used for help in a particular part of the game that they need development help with. And they're constantly sharing tech. They're constantly sharing ideas. And we have new information that that all of the 15 studios that Microsoft have, big and small, are all handshaking with one another and hanging out and sharing tech ideas. So it's a very good possibility, JD, that Sea of Thieves, a future iteration of it, or definitely State of Decay 3, which we know is coming, and from what we understand, possible, we've heard rumblings of a ReCore 2, which I would absolutely love. I could guarantee you that with the newfound sharing techniques that are going on at Microsoft that we've seen done at the Sony brand, all 3 of those games, including whatever new IPs they decide to come out with, are going to look and run absolutely amazing, because we have Gears 5 as the benchmark title of how you use the Unreal Engine 4. Now, again, I'm only going to paraphrase here, but our good friends, and I say that loosely, at Digital Foundry have claimed that the coalition has found a way to use the Unreal Engine 4 to the best of its ability, and it's again the benchmark for the use of Unreal Engine. That's really saying something. So if you take what the coalition knows, I can guarantee you the success of this game, not just on the commercial section, how many people are playing, the success, but the actual visual success, the fidelity that we got a chance to see with our own eyes on the Xbox One X. You could only imagine what the graphics on, let's say, Halo Infinite are going to be on the Scarlet. And like I said, that's what I'm saying. Listen, everyone's entitled to their opinion. I'm not going to challenge you on it. But my God, if you were an Xbox fan, Drew, there is so much to be excited about. It's crazy that there would be people that could literally try and turn the success of this game into some sort of a negativity. And that's freaking bananas. Anything you'd like to add to this, Drew?
honestly, this is going back to whoever it was that sent a super chat earlier talking about like clickbaiters and stuff. And this goes for YouTubers, media outlets. They've been doing it all gen. They were doing it last gen. It's more prominent now because of social media. But that's the thing. Like the success of Gears 5. Let's just talk about that specifically. What sounds more, let's just say, universally appealing to the average gamer out there? You know, whether it be an article or a YouTube video. Gears 5 is a masterpiece, 10 out of 10. Or Gears 5 sucks and here's why.
Unfortunately, it's Gears sucks and here's why. You're going to get a lot more clicks.
Exactly. And that's why, I know you're too polite to say it, Boom, but that's why the likes of Crap and MBG are just jumping on this hate wagon, because literally, and there's many more like it. I only picked those two because those were channels I used to be fans of, and I just couldn't stand their depressing attitudes any longer. But it's the same with articles, like all these different outlets. There's so many, Kotaku, IGN, they've done it for years. It's just outrageous to me, like how they can twist these good things into negatives. But unfortunately, it just seems negativity sells more. Negativity gets the clicks. Like, people just like to tune in to someone ragging on something more than they do someone praising on something. I don't get it. Like, for me, I'd rather watch a video where someone's chock full of beans, happy, buzzing, talking about how they're enjoying game X, Y, and Z. It's just the way it is. But no, I don't know how people can twist these things in negatives. Like, as gamers, real gamers, whether you're an Xbox fan, a PlayStation fan, a PC fan, a Nintendo fan, whatever, we should all be just shaking hands and tapping each other on the back for a job well done. Like, whether you know, honestly, like, when I don't own a PS4, but am I going to sit here and say God of War and Spider-Man are shit? No.
Right. No, of course not.
Not only because I haven't played it and I have no right to have an opinion on those games yet, but at least I've been around these gaming streets a while, man. Like, I only have to look at a trailer and I can tell you if it's going to be a game that I think will be good for me or not. Like, that's how I've saved myself a fuck ton of money. Because if I'd have been burned on so many angles if I just bought every game without doing my research. But like, I can say confidently, as someone who's not even owned a PS4 this generation, those games look phenomenal. And I applaud them for their numbers, for the player base, and for the fans of those games. Yeah. I could be that asshole who makes a YouTube video saying God of War is trash and here's why. Spider-Man sucks, this is why. But I'm not that kind of person.
Yeah, no, neither of us are. And I think a lot of the people in the chat will definitely agree with that. You know, real quick, I just wanted to address, because there's one game that JD mentioned in that was Crackdown 3. And I'm going to say this, okay? First of all, if I get booed or I get some negative chat, you know, negative comments in the chat, that's fine. I mean, listen, I have thick skin. You'd be surprised what I've heard wearing a uniform. Crackdown 3 for me, right, at the end of the day, is going to show up in my top 10 of 2019. So you say, wait a second, Boom, you're out of your mind. How could that be? It's Crackdown. Exactly. Because that open world, the orb collecting, the superhero-like shenanigans that goes on, the fact that you're a police officer, that's you know, that's exciting for me. You're a super cop, you know what I'm saying? It was an amazing game from start to finish. Okay, the multiplayer, okay, it didn't have the destructibility. That some people consider that an epic fail. That's fine, but the single player aspect, I loved. I'm still playing it. I'm still playing it. It's a great game to jump into. Don't listen to the hate. And I'm hoping for a Crackdown 4. I'm hoping that they understand where they made the mistakes, and that they make a Crackdown 4, because I know Phil Spencer, it's one of his favorite franchises. I you know, if you want to take a hiatus and, you know, put an emphasis on a Recore 2, a Perfect Dark, maybe a new Crimson Skies, definitely a Killer Instinct 2. There's plenty of old IPs they can go back and get and kind of let just, let Crackdown kind of just rest a little bit and then come back to it later, I would be all for that. But real quick, Drew, before we get out of here, Sir X-Man drops a very generous $5 super chat. He says, "It's never been about graphics for me. It's always been about gameplay, and I taught my kids that. They love playing combat on the old Atari 2600 on a CRT." Now that is, man, that harkens back to some real fond memories. One of my first games that when my dad walked through the door with an Atari 2600 in 1978, Combat was one of those games. And or it came out, I believe, I think Combat came with the system, if I can remember. But that was something else. I can't believe that you kids actually play that. Good on you, dude. That is how you teach your kids where games came from. But Drew, listen, this has been an incredible episode on many levels. One, of course, we had Mark from Sketchbook Games on to talk about his new title that I think is going to be a real hit in Lost Words on many levels. Not just because graphically it looks incredible between the two different art styles, but the story seems like it's going to be a real deep one, and one I think that it's going to put most people like ourselves to tears who don't have a problem admitting that we cry at games, because again, it's like reading a novel, right? It's like watching a movie. You can't tell me you never cried, and if you did, you're lying. But Drew, thanks again for being here. I'm glad that you're actually here, because like I said this to you before, I don't like doing the show without you, because you are my brother and my partner in this. And if you didn't know, we were kind of on the edge of madness, because unfortunately Drew's dog decided that his microphone wires were a chew toy, and and he decided to snap down at them. And to make matters worse, Amazon, in fact, sent him the wrong wires that he has to now send back. But Drew, it's been great to have you once here, in your regular chair. Tell everyone that they can follow you on Twitter, DM you if they want to talk about some serious stuff, and more importantly, check out your channel.
I appreciate that, Boom. I really do. Yeah, my dog is a bastard. No, honestly, guys, always a pleasure. That interview with Mark was amazing. Really enjoyed his insight. I cannot wait to play the game. Beautifully, well-rounded, beautiful designed game. Looks like a very, very, very capturing story. Can't wait to play that. But an all-round great show, Boom. Absolutely phenomenal topics, great conversations, and you guys in the chat, as always, just love every one of you. Big thanks, and be sure to hit that like button if you enjoyed the show, because me and Boom truly appreciate your feedback, and it's nice to know we're doing a good job. And if you don't like it, hit the down button. Don't be afraid. If you hate it, press the down button. That's what it's there for. For myself, if you want to follow me, hit me up on Twitter at @TheWelshGamer93. And I say this every show. If you have any issues, if you suffer with mental health, if you suffer with depression, anxiety, any of those things, please hit me up in the DMs on Twitter. You're not alone. I've gone through it more times than I can count. I'm battling with it every day. It's a hard way to live. I can only commend the people who are lucky enough not to feel it every day, but there's a lot of us that do, and I'm here to talk. You're not alone. So I just wanted to press that one more time. And as for my YouTube channel, if you do want to check out my older content, maybe there'll be future content in the future, but right now I'm concentrating on this podcast. It is The Welsh Gamer, 3 words. But guys, thank you very much. Love you all. Truly, truly do. Get your asses on Gears 5. It is a masterpiece. And Saltiest Gaming, big shout out to you, my dude. Me and you haven't talked in too bloody long. I'll catch you on the weekend. We'll party up for some Gears Horde or something and discuss, hopefully, me jumping on the old Saltiest Gaming podcast, which goes live tonight.
Yep.
For any of you, I'm not going to be on it, but go over and check it out, because it's a phenomenal show. I love that show.
Yeah.
Boom, you take it away. Close us out, bro.
Absolutely, yes. And real quick, before we get on out of here, obviously, the show is each show that I do is powered by the community, and I just have to say a big thank you to a bunch of channel members that support the through channel membership. And I would feel really crummy if I didn't call them out live on the air. You know, Matt Burns, Philly Eagle in the chat, Lethal Papa, Massholes 1977 in the chat, Aiden Williams, Jay Zayas, JD Gamer, Infinite AA, Scrub Nurse in the chat, Moonwalker 925, Josette Rivera, my missus, J Force Gaming, Tempest Sun, Gamer by Choice, and Thanaros in the chat. Thank you guys so much for being a channel supporter. You can, if you're interested, what that basically is that you're helping support Double Barrel Gaming. I only have one tier because I think anything more than that would be it would be gross. That's just for me personally. And if you do join, you do get an avatar next to your name in the chat, as well as a bunch of originally created emojis that the graphic god, aka Jay Williams of Twitter and YouTube, created for me. And if you're interested in getting an avatar done the way that you see for the Welsh Gamer and Double Barrel Gaming, I suggest getting out there and checking out xboxgamerpicks.com. That is a site that's owned by the graphic god, and he does amazing work. He is a community icon. He's one of the community's finest, in my opinion, and his work is impeccable. As a matter of fact, every piece of artwork that I use on this channel was all originally created by J Dubs, and his work is, my God, it's second to none. And actually, he just did a new one for himself as a monkey with a chainsaw lancer that's motion activated. And if you want J Dubs to use his talent on your avatar, all you gotta do is hit him up in the DM. His prices range from very affordable to motion, which is pretty expensive, but at the same time, you're always going to get quality. So get over there to xboxgamerpicks.com and check him out and hit him up in the DM if you have questions. And once again, I want to thank everyone that came out today. You guys are amazing, and you definitely help power this show each and every week. The generous and outrageous super chats were unbelievable today. Thank you so much for that, and we will see you next week on the newest episode of the Xbox Factor podcast. Take care, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day.